This week, San Diego Comic-Con has just begun, and with it, a lot of new video game news, both good and potentially bad, have come out to the surface. So we'll be covering all that stuff today at Press Start Podcast. My name is Eric.
And my name is David.
All right. So, one of the big things in terms of official big San Diego Comic-Con news, in terms of video games, I should say, is that NetherRealm Studios, the game company that develops the Mortal Kombat series, as well as the Injustice series, announced the first big story expansion for Mortal Kombat 1, which ironically is the 12th main installment for the Mortal Kombat series. And that is called, let me go check, Khaos Reigns.
The future is chaos. All must embrace it.
A lot of people thought it was going to be called Mortal Kombat Aftermath because that was the DLC for Mortal Kombat 11, the previous game. But no, it's Khaos Reigns. And with it, basically the story is that after, spoilers for people who haven't played Mortal Kombat 1, by the way, at the end of Mortal Kombat 1, a bunch of tie-in versions of Mortal Kombat characters came to a giant fight on a giant pyramid over to see who would protect or destroy the multiverse, basically.
Okay.
And in the game, Liu Kang and whichever character you decide to play as wins and defeats Titan Shang Tsung. But at the end of the game, like a post-credit scenes appears where it shows Titan Havoc, who's like this chaotic, like gore, like torture fighter guy. It revealed that Titan Havoc survived that fight or was absent from it. It's kind of unclear. And that he was going to be causing chaos throughout the multiverse from now on. So basically, this Khaos Reigns DLC is going off of that post-credit ending, where it's Titan Havoc causing havoc across the multiverse and attacking Titan Liu Kang and all the other Mortal Kombat people from the new Mortal Kombat 1 universe. And with it, there was a bunch of new fighters announced, both for the game's story as well as other DLC. And this is a DLC, by the way. It's not free. Some of those new characters are female versions of the ninja Lin Kuei, or not Lin Kuei, Shirai Ryu. Ninjas being Cyrax and Sector. And those characters are usually like cyborgs in previous game, like male cyborgs. But in this one, they're female. Instead of cyborgs, they're wearing like Iron Man kind of style suits. I'm not sure if they're coming from Titan Liu Kang's universe or they're just from another multiverse. It's kind of unclear in the trailer, but it's pretty cool seeing those characters appear. I always liked playing as Sector, mostly because he's kind of cheap with his like shooting rockets and everything. And they also showed off a new version of Noob Saibot. And that's pretty interesting because in the original series, Noob Saibot was the resurrected demonic form of the original Sub-Zero Bihan.
Right.
But in the Mortal Kombat 1 universe, Bihan is still Sub-Zero and he's still alive. So it seems like this Noob Saibot is a Bihan from a different universe. I don't know if he's from the original Mortal Kombat universe. It's kind of unclear, but just kind of interesting that he's back. And by the way, Noob Saibot is like he's based on developers' names.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Isn't that's the creator's, it's his name like backwards or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's like his first name Noob is from Ed Boon.
Yeah.
And I forget what developer his Saibot is from. But that's always kind of fun.
Oh, it's John Tobias. So
yes, right.
Ed Boon and John Tobias, so.
Right. And so that's kind of fun seeing him come back because he's kind of like a niche fan favorite. And the big DLC characters that are not part of the Mortal Kombat universe that are coming with this DLC are Schwarzenegger's Conan the Barbarian, I don't know if it's actually Arnold Schwarzenegger who's playing him, like voicing him, but it's his image. The T-1000 from Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
And it is actually the actor from that movie that's playing him. Let me double check what his actor's name is. I reposted it on Twitter. It's Robert Patrick. So that's going to be interesting. It's also kind of funny because they had Arnold Schwarzenegger's regular T-800 Terminator in Mortal Kombat 11. Again, though, not voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, just his image. So now they got the big two main Terminators in the Mortal Kombat series. And the most intriguing one, and probably the one that's been most rumored since Mortal Kombat 1 has been coming out, is Ghostface from the Scream movies.
That's cool. That's really cool.
And from what I can tell, I believe they got the voice actor who plays the automatic Ghostface voice to play him. Yeah, the same guy that voices Mojo Dojo in the Powerpuff Girls show.
Oh wow, never knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head. But yeah, that's who voices him. And they also revealed in this new trailer that they're introducing a new form of fatalities, which are like these cinematic, usually grotesque ways of destroying enemies at the end of fights. And these new fatalities are called animalities.
I saw a clip of that the other day. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it seems like basically at the end of the fight, you do a certain number of button combinations, and any fighter turns into a select few animals. Like, they didn't really show all of the characters turning into animals, but it looked like Melina, I believe, she turned into a praying mantis and then like ripped a player to shreds. So that's pretty interesting. They always do fun stuff with their fatalities, like babalities and friendship and stuff like that. So
I remember back in, it was Mortal Kombat, maybe it was Mortal Kombat X. I believe that they had those X. It wasn't, I don't think it was a fatality, but it was like, those, do you play a lot of Mortal Kombat?
A decent amount. Definitely more than like Street Fighter and other 2D fighting games.
I think it was like the X-ray somethings. You know what I'm talking about? Where like you can see the bones and like
yeah. That was introduced in Mortal Kombat 9, but they did appear in MKX as well.
Right. Okay. Oh, you're right. You're right. I was thinking, Mortal Kombat 9. That was for the 360. I remember playing that. I like Mortal Kombat definitely more than Tekken. I've tried to get into Tekken before in the past, and it has never really stuck. The characters are cool, but I don't know I said it like that. Cool. The characters are cool, but I never clicked with Tekken. And then next would be Street Fighter, which to me is very, very iconic. I played a little bit of that as a kid, going to the arcades and stuff like that. But the one that stood out for me most was Mortal Kombat because of all the fatalities, all the blood and the gore, for as limiting as the technology was back then, it was still a pretty gruesome game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't really know anything about Mortal Kombat growing up. I was introduced to it with the MK versus DC Universe game.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Because I was a big DC fan, still am now. So I got that mostly for the DC characters. And it wasn't really until like playing through the Injustice games when they had Mortal Kombat cameos, like from Scorpion and Raiden stuff. Yeah. That I was intrigued by the Mortal Kombat games. Like, I played them at friends' houses in arcades and stuff. But I never really got into, like, the story until, like, a couple of years ago. And it's pretty expansive. Like, I think as terms of, like, fighting games story, it's probably the most, drawn out or well built, I guess you can say. I mean, I don't really know much about other fighting game stories like Street Fighter, Tekken, or Soul Calibur and stuff like that. But I think it's the most accessible story.
I'd agree with you there. I'd agree with you that Mortal Kombat is pretty accessible. I think it's gotten a little weird with Mortal Kombat. Well, going from 9 forward.
Yeah.
As people regard 9 as it's the hard reboot, but then they did Mortal Kombat X, and I think I believe there was time travel in that one, and then it introduced parallel universes or something like that.
Yeah, 11 did that, and they had time travel.
Yeah, I never played through all. I never played through all the way to the end of those games, and then I know that Mortal Kombat 1 is being advertised as another, like, a big universe reboot, which, you know, you mentioned that, hey, certain characters are alive and certain characters are dead, and the biggest change to me was that they're like, Raiden is not a god anymore. So
yeah, because at the end of spoilers for Mortal Kombat 11, although it is a kind of old game now, at the end of that game, Raiden basically gives his god powers to oh gosh, I'm just blanking on his name. Oh my gosh, I just said it earlier.
Liu Kang? No, Kung Lao?
Oh, Liu Kang. Liu Kang, yes, thank you. Yeah, basically, Raiden gave his god powers to Liu Kang, and then Liu Kang took control of the hourglass that controls time in the universe. So he basically, like, remade the universe as the god of fire and lightning. And that's where Mortal Kombat's new timeline comes from. It's interesting. And also, this DLC is coming out on September 24th. So coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, that is pretty soon. That's within the next, you said, September 24th?
Yeah.
So next 2 months. 2 months to prepare.
Yeah. And I believe they're also coming out with a new physical release of the game that includes Khaos Rising, the DLC, and also all of the other DLC characters from the Mortal Kombat Combat Pack.
That's pretty cool.
Going on to other news, not necessarily connected to San Diego Comic-Con, but it is, you know, like, adjacent to that news. About hundreds of voice actors have officially gone, for video games I should say, have officially gone on strike with SAG-AFTRA over AI usage in video games, particularly with people's voices and likeness.
The Neva computer's picking up strange turbulence.
Now that'll be battle debris, lad. The whole Imperial sector's littered with it.
Yeah. It's big. It is big.
Yeah, it's not surprising that this happens. Apparently, this has been on negotiations for a long time now. They said, this is according to IGN, that this vote, like with unions and stuff, came after a year and a half of negotiations, which isn't surprising. A lot of discussions or negotiations with unions and companies usually take a long time. And I think it's been about a year or so since the Screen Actors Guild for movies and TV shows, I believe they had, or I'm not sure if they had their strike resolved necessarily. I think they kind of did, but not as much as they wanted to. And it's not surprising, though, because more and more games and video game companies overall are using AI in pretty much everything, which is, like, understandable because video game companies, it's a business at the end of the day, yes. And using AI will try and save money and everything.
But depending on how you use it, personally, I kind of look at it as cutting corners. And some would argue, yeah, you know, you're gonna cut corners and you're going to still deliver a quality product. Or some people, I think, would say, maybe they'd agree with me saying, using AI, I feel like that takes away from the final product. And I'm sure that there are going to be things that we games that we play and maybe music that we listen to that have bits of AI in it that we wouldn't even know. But personally, I'm not really a fan. I know that's kind of a lame take, and I feel like I'm maybe sound like an old stick in the mud. But I think, I don't know, I'm apprehensive about it. AI, personally.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of it either, especially because, at least in terms of my knowledge of video game voice acting, despite video game voice actors having to do tons of more lines than movie or TV show actors, I believe they get paid significantly less than movie and TV show voice actors. Because some video games, especially for like RPGs, voice actors will have to read thousands of lines or thousands of hours of lines, depending on interactions or how players interact with the game and so on. With this news that they're going on strike, it's also going to be delaying several games' development. Although not all of them. Also, according to IGN, the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6 from Rockstar will not be affected by this strike. I guess that's presumably because most of the voice lines are already recorded. Because I believe that game is coming out sometime next year, ending next year, I believe, or early 2026.
That's the hope.
Yeah. But it's kind of uncertain how many games will have their development delayed by this. I can't really think of off the top of my head a lot of games that have used AI in terms of voices in recent years. I know in terms of TV shows and other content, they have used AI a lot. Like one big issue that popped up just in the general pop culture zeitgeist was with this fan-made animated Star Wars project that the YouTuber Star Wars Theory was working on. Mm-hmm. And he posted the trailer of what he's been working on recently. Basically, he used AI to recreate animations and voice lines of the voice and likeness of Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher for a Star Wars anniversary project.
Looks like Rebel Star's already arrived, but their signal's gone offline.
You better call it in.
This is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, a lot of people have been kind of denouncing the project because he didn't seek or get approval from these actors or their families' estates to do it, to use their likenesses and so on. Because most of the time when people have passed away, like in Carrie Fisher's instance, usually need to get their family's approval, or they need to have a signed contract saying you can use my voice after I died, like how James Earl Jones has signed a deal with Disney allowing them to use his voice once he passes away for them to reuse it for Darth Vader and stuff. And I think, like you said before, how a lot of the times companies will just use AI to circumvent all these legal barriers per se of getting actors and so on. And also it's just taking away jobs from people.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, the jobs are going away.
So it'll be interesting to see how long this strike lasts. If it's anything like the Screen Actors Guild strike, it's probably going to be a long time. And like I said, I'm not sure which games are necessarily going to be affected by it. I imagine especially lower, or not indie games per se, but smaller games will probably be affected by it, less so than major games, unless Activision is using AI in Call of Duty or whatever games they're working on, which I wouldn't be surprised by, because Xbox and Activision usually take those kind of scummy ways of circumventing things, especially just to save a buck on something.
Yeah, talking about cutting corners, those two are the biggest. You get what I'm trying. I can't think of the word right now, but biggest offender.
Yeah, I guess you can say offenders. Yeah, that works. For other news, and this isn't also necessarily connected to San Diego Comic-Con, as of this recording, San Diego Comic-Con is on its second day this year. So maybe they could be announcing it. I doubt it. But currently there are recent rumors, that the long Xbox exclusive game series Gears of War may be coming to the PlayStation 5 with the upcoming release of Gears of War E-Day. And this rumor is based off of a job listing for the Coalition, which is the developer company for the Gears of War series since I believe it was Gears of War 4 was their first game. Because before then it was developed by Fortnite's developer Epic Games, which is kind of interesting, considering how gory and like hardcore edgy Gears of War is compared to like all the kid colorful stuff of Fortnite. But yeah, basically in this job listing for the Coalition, they were looking for a senior online engineer, particularly for helping out develop the multiplayer systems for E-Day. And in the qualifications, the preferred qualifications, they were looking for someone who had experience working with Xbox, Steam, and PlayStation Network online systems. Now, this doesn't necessarily confirm that Gears of War will be coming to PlayStation 5. We do know that Gears of War E-Day is coming to Steam, because you can find it on Steam by just looking it up, and it says coming soon. And that would be the third Gears of War game coming to Steam after Gears 5 and Gears Tactics. No other games are on Steam. Like the only way you can play other Gears of War games on PC is with the Windows Store. But it's kind of interesting because no other job listing on the site lists Steam or PlayStation. They just say experience with Xbox Live and other gaming multiplayer systems.
Okay.
And like I said, this doesn't necessarily confirm that it would be coming to PlayStation, but it wouldn't be surprising because since February this year, Microsoft has been porting or re-releasing a bunch of big Xbox exclusives to PlayStation 5 as well as Nintendo Switch consoles. Like I believe the first wave of those, they released Sea of Thieves and the Hi-Fi Rush to PlayStation 5, and they released Pentiment and one other game, I can't think of it off the top of my head, to the PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch as well. And I believe ever since then, people have been talking about other games that could be ported to the PlayStation 5 as well as Nintendo Switch. Like a few weeks ago, there were rumors that 343 Industries is working on a complete remake of Halo Combat Evolved, the first Halo game, and that it would have a simultaneous release on both the Xbox and the PlayStation 5. But again, that's also a rumor. But it's not surprising. It seems like these days Microsoft is just trying to get the most money. Like they're trying to bleed that Halo and Gears of War cow dry. And it would make kind of economical sense to release it on the PlayStation 5 just so that you can have the wider chance of sales, potentially getting new players interested in the series, and also for future games, because beyond this PlayStation Gears of War rumor, there's also a rumor that the Coalition and Microsoft are working on a compilation Gears of War series called the Marcus Phoenix Collection, named after the main character of most of the Gears of War games, where it would be basically like Halo the Master Chief Collection, where it has all of the mainline Gears of War campaigns and some of their multiplayers in this collection, so that people can just buy that collection and be able to understand and play through all of the classic campaigns and some of the multiplayer systems. And it would make sense if they do decide to release Gears of War on PlayStation, that after E3's release, they would also release the Marcus Phoenix collection, so that PlayStation players don't have to go and buy an Xbox or use Windows to have to play all the other Gears of War games.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Gears of War on PlayStation. Ugh, that sounds so weird.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I honestly, I think nothing but good. I think nothing but good could come from that, because, like you said, that definitely casts a wider net, and you can reach so many more players. I can't, like, I left Xbox, I left Microsoft. I have a PlayStation. I have a Nintendo Switch. And there are definitely games that have come out for Xbox that I've kind of missed, but for the most part, I'm good. But I definitely think that cross-platform is the way to go, because then you're just sharing the wealth. Everyone gets to enjoy the franchise. It doesn't matter what console you're on. I think Nintendo is going to keep doing whatever they do, and that's fine. But I think they've been within the past couple of years, much more friendly about crossplay, because, like, I think Apex Legends has crossplay, Overwatch has crossplay,
Minecraft does.
Yeah, Minecraft does as well. So yeah, I think nothing but good can come from Gears come to the PlayStation. That'd be awesome.
The only negative side I see of Gears of War being brought to the PlayStation is that, especially if they do release the Marcus Phoenix collection with it afterwards, is it just gives more and more people reasons not to buy an Xbox.
Yeah.
Because, like, back in the day, like in the 360 and the original Xbox days, exclusives were the main reason to decide whether or not to buy a console. Like, you couldn't play Mario anywhere else but the Wii or the GameCube or the DS. And you couldn't play Halo anywhere else besides the Xbox. Or you couldn't play God of War or Kingdom Hearts anywhere else but PlayStation. Like, I remember back early on in the 360's days, the first killer app, you can say, of the 360 was the first Gears of War. Because I believe back in the day, that was the first game to topple Halo 2 as the most played game on Xbox Live. And Gears of War 1 came out before Halo 3's release. So that was pretty huge. And I believe it sold like millions of copies. And for the rest of the 360's lifetime, it was always Gears of War and Halo were the top killer apps on those consoles. They kind of lost interest in sales during the Xbox One and now the Series X days. But I feel like it's another instance of Microsoft being like, we want more sales, but we're also going to, like, shoot ourselves in the foot by porting it to other consoles. Because if Halo and Gears of War are on the PlayStation 5 and there's still PlayStation 5 exclusive games that are locked to that console, then why are people going to buy an Xbox when all the games on the Xbox can be played on the PlayStation 5? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see if this rumor turns out to be true. Only time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, we still don't have a release date for Gears of War U-Day. Hopefully, I am expecting maybe end of year next year, end of 2025. Maybe earlier, because the only trailer they released for it back during the Xbox showcase earlier this summer, it was just a cinematic trailer, like no gameplay or no dialogue even, for that matter. All we know that's set at the beginning of the Locust War, so it's a prequel to Gears of War 1. And that would also be a good way, if they were to bring it to PlayStation 5, that would be a perfect title to get people interested in the Gears of War series, having it be at the beginning of the main conflict.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think, if you want to, I agree.
Well, for one other video game news, and this one's a sad one, on Monday, July 29th, and that's 2 days from now as of this recording, Microsoft will be shutting down the Xbox 360 marketplace.
Wow.
And with it, all Xbox 360 games exclusive to that console, to the digital stores, I should say, will be gone forever unless you already downloaded them to your console's hard drive.
R.I.P. Xbox 360 Marketplace, and it's funny because I don't buy games digitally. Usually I buy them physically, and I buy them digitally when I can't get the physical release. So I support physical media 9 times out of 10 when I can. But the point that I want to make is that sometimes, I buy a game here or there, and I'd forget. But then when I upgraded to the next console from like 360 to what was the Xbox One, it's fun going through and looking and seeing your profile carry over to the new console, and then, oh wow, I forgot that I bought that game, and then you think back to that time that you're in the 360 store, either buying a new skin for your avatar or something like that, or whatever game is on sale. At the time and whatnot. So yeah, no, that is a sad time.
Yeah, it's especially frustrating for a lot of video game historians, because a lot of these games that are exclusive to the digital store, unless you have them downloaded to your Xbox 360's hard drive, they'll be gone forever. So the only way people will be able to look back and research about them would be via trailers or some other kind of video media. Like some of these Xbox 360 arcade, which was Microsoft's marketplace game catalog, some of these Xbox 360 arcade games were brought over to Xbox One and Series X digital storefronts. For example, you can buy Miss-Splosion Man for Xbox One or Xbox Series X, even though it first debuted on the Xbox 360 arcade. I don't believe that one ever got physical release. Some arcade digital Xbox 360 games did have physical releases, like they had compilation discs. But now that the store is being shut down, those discs are going to be increasing in value. So expect those to go for hundreds of dollars on eBay now. And it's especially sad because for a lot of people, some of their best gaming memories back in the 360 day was with their digital games. For example, Minecraft for Xbox was first originally released digitally on the Xbox 360 arcade. And now that version will be gone, although they did release it physically on a disc. So again, that one's also going to be increased in price. And also some DLCs that were exclusive to Xbox 360 may be gone forever. For example, Dead Rising 2 had a prequel and a sequel DLC, Case Zero and Case West. They were only exclusive to the Xbox 360 arcade store. So if you don't have those downloaded, those will be also lost. And beyond just games, the marketplace also had a lot of interesting, more fun things to do. For example, you could download video game exclusive trailers, from the marketplace. You could download, avatar costumes and clothes and helmets back when, in response to Nintendo Wii Mii's, every console had to have a digital avatar. And even other stuff. For example, back when the Xbox 360 had its wireless controlless Kinect interface, a lot of those games were released digitally only, such as Fruit Ninja Connect. So now those games will be lost forever as well. But also, in terms of other stuff you can download from the marketplace, you can also download some fun movies or audiobooks or visual novels. Like, for example, Dead Space, the first Dead Space, I should say, when that released in 2008, on the marketplace, you could download free digital audio readings of the comic book, the Dead Space comic book that released.
Yeah.
And they also released a bunch of fun developer diaries about how the game was made.
Oh.
And unless people upload those to YouTube, or if you download them to your hard drive, stuff like that will also be lost.
It's really sad that like there isn't much in terms of like game preservation.
Yeah, like that's definitely a big issue as these consoles are dying out, because I believe PlayStation 3's digital store is also going to be shutting down soon. The Nintendo Wii and the Wii U, their digital stores are already shut down. Same with the 3DS.
Yep. That shut down this year.
Yeah. So a lot of these games, you gotta make sure you buy them quick, or make sure your consoles are in good condition, or maybe upload playthroughs of them online just to make sure that these are preserved. And it's especially frustrating for people that worked on these games, I imagine, who you'll never be able to access them ever again.
Exactly.
Although sometimes they do like remaster them. Like earlier this year, Microsoft released a remastered version of the 2D adventure game Braid on the Xbox Series X and Xbox One digital stores. Originally, that game was exclusive to the Xbox 360 arcade. And it seems like they just released that remastered to make sure people can still play it once the digital storefronts go offline.
Yeah.
And it is very sad. Although, despite this shutdown, the Xbox 360 will still have online capabilities. So for games that still have their servers active, you'll still be able to play multiplayer on those consoles. Like, for example, I believe if you still want to play like co-op on Dead Space 3, you can still do that until EA decides to shut down the Dead Space 3 360 servers. Although a lot of games for that era of games already shut down, like a couple years ago, or I think it might have been 2 years ago now, maybe a year and a half, Microsoft shut down all of the original multiplayer servers for all of the Xbox 360 Halo games. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, those multiplayer systems were ported with the Master Chief Collection, but a lot of games don't have that same fate. A lot of times these multiplayers are just gone. For example, one of the most popular multiplayer games that was exclusive to Xbox 360 arcade was Gotham City Gangsters, I believe. And that one's also gone. I mean, the server shut down, but still.
Yeah. Well, RIP to the 360 marketplace.
Yeah. I mean, we still have a couple of days, so make sure you guys download those games.
Get whatever you want, whatever you need. Tell a friend. Just make sure to just find your favorites and cherish them.
Yes, because you never know when they'll be gone.
That's true.
Or the companies will take them away from you.
Well, I don't have anything else to add. But Eric, unless you had something else to add, this has been another riveting episode of Press Start.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Other than keep an eye out for more news for video games coming out for the rest of San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah. I don't expect there'll be too much video game related, but you never know. Maybe they'll finally announced Half-Life 3 out of the blue.
Well, now that you said it, now it's gonna another 20 years in development.
Oh yeah.
Well, we can only hope. Who knows? But thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week.
See you guys later.